Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go!
So a lot of people have been talking, Justin, about the fact you can catch the ball out of the backfield, and I'm like, well, that's no big deal to Justin Rankin. He's been a receiver before, because you came to Edmonton in training camp as a receiver, right?
Yeah, they brought me in as, initially as a running back, switched me to receiver, throughout the offseason. Again, like you said, kind of no big deal. I've been playing receiver for quite some time, and, I've been kind of a receiving back, and, like I said, I take pride in being versatile, so.
Yeah. What do you like better, being running between the tackles or on a wheel route when a lonely D end has to try to cover Justin Rankin or something like that?
Man, it's a tough one. Like, I've been playing running back, the majority running back my whole life, but like learning receiver, throughout my years and actually having to play receiver, like it's an art, Sometimes running the ball is like I hand the ball off, go make a play. Where like, you're out there receiver, like you got to read the defense, you got to, choose the right route, the right read on that play and stuff. So, it's really more of a artwork, to playing receiver, and I think that's fun to be able to perfect that craft.
Yeah. So, and talk about what a weapon you can be, and we're seeing that. Like, it's not like some big revelation. You showed us on the field, but just having that dual threat where you're not just a running back that comes like Brady Oliveira. I watched the Calgary-Winnipeg game live, and he made a nice catch over the shoulder, nice throw from Zach Collaros, had 100 yards receiving. But you're like I said, you were a receiver. So just talk about that ability with the footwork and things you can do. It's not just like a normal running back coming out into the flats.
Yeah, man. I watched that play too. Brady can catch the ball. I'll tell you what, like, he's made some amazing catches, so shout out to him for that. But like I said, I just kind of take pride in helping the team in however way I can, and obviously like having a running back that can catch the ball and run the ball, and pass protect. That's the more you can do, the more likely your team is to win. So that's really the biggest thing for me is just helping the team out in any way that I possibly can. And right now if that's catching the ball through the air and being a versatile back, that's what I'll do.
What kind of fraternity do you have in this league? Like linemen stick together, quarterbacks stick together, but probably the most physical position that was underappreciated like in the last 5 years is the running back spot. I'm glad to see that it swung back the other way where people are like, oh, the running back is important. But do you talk with Brady? Do you talk with Stanback, with some of these guys in the league?
Yeah, I reach out to them every now and then. They reach out to me. I just talked to James Butler. He's been going crazy this year, so huge shout out to him. But we kind of chop it up. We don't have any like group chats or anything, but I'm new here, so I'm starting to learn some of the guys, and just watching the games. Like I reach out to them, let them know like, man, you played a crazy game. Like that's phenomenal. I love watching the film and all those guys and kind of taking stuff from their bag and learning and taking tips and tricks that they're doing and kind of implementing it into my game. So. But I'm not a big, I talk to everybody. I talk to the O-line, the defense, everybody. Like I like being around the guys. I like the camaraderie of football. So, that includes everybody on the team.
Hey, Justin, what's it like, though? Say you're playing Calgary and Diedrich Mills is running up a storm and it's a game inside of a game. Like you're on the other sideline like, shit, coach, give me the ball. This is me. Yeah. I'm one-on-one against Diedrich Mills even though we're not playing against each other.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think, at any position when you see the opposing, team, somebody at your position kind of like, playing well and, going off, you're like, man, like I need to pick it up. Like he's having a game, he's helped contribute to winning for his team. Like, I need to do the same thing. So, it definitely like kind of lights a fire under your butt.
Hey, what's it like on offense when you got Trey Ford, who I like, and he plays kind of that razzle-dazzle style, and Cody does a little bit too, but to a lesser extent. How's that changed for you as a running back between those two quarterback styles?
It doesn't really change too much. Like I've always said, like it doesn't matter who's at QB. We believe in all three of them. But the biggest thing with Trey, obviously, he's a run threat. So it just kind of brings the DNs that make them a little more hesitant. You're likely to get a little more gives. But now with Cody, like you said, Cody can still run the ball. He's still a threat out there. He's still mobile, and we've seen that. So but DNs are more likely to crash. That's really the biggest thing. But at the end of the day, like it doesn't really change what I do too much. I'm just following the scheme and doing what the coaches and the guys are asking and expect out of me. So.
I'm a storyline guy. I like storylines. What a storyline last week. Cody Fajardo wins the Grey Cup for Montreal. He gets booted to Edmonton. Probably the most underappreciated player in the league, I'd have to say. Yeah. So he gets booted to Edmonton. Not like that's a bad thing, Justin. And then Keon Julian Grant drops a sure touchdown against Hamilton. You guys would have probably won that game. And both those guys go back to Montreal where they played, and they play a starring role. Man, you couldn't have written a better script.
Yeah, it definitely is. That storybook right there. Man, from the moment I met Cody, like his preparation and just the way that he goes about everything, like that's a pro's pro. You know, I appreciate him. I appreciate the stuff that he's taught me and everything. So, you know, to be able to see him go out there, you know, against his old team, you know, like you kind of said, the team that booted him away, you know, and be able to, you know, pull out the W, and not just pull out the W, but pull out the W with a teammate, you know, that was with him, you know, with that previous team. So, you know, that was pretty awesome to see. And I mean, you can't make that one up. You know, that doesn't happen too often. So, you know, that was pretty awesome to see. And, you know, I'm happy for both of those guys, man. They deserve it.
Yeah, so and talk about that, because I've talked with Metier and a few other guys in your team, and it's like you're there, you got a good team, but the record doesn't say you're good, and you got to learn how to win. I'd chalk that one up for in the category of learn how to win. What's it feel like to overcome adversity, win, and in the locker room, like what does a win like that do for your team's mentality now, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I think it just allows people to believe a little more, you know, and anytime you're stacking W's, stacking wins, you know, it just allows you to believe in the team, believe in the guys, believe in the coaches, you know, believe in the system that we have in place. You know, obviously when you're losing, like you want to believe, but sometimes it gets hard. You know, sometimes it gets hard because you're like, man, I'm waking up at 5 a.m., you know, putting this work in every day, but, you know, we're not getting the outcome that we want. So, you know, it gets hard, but that's where the discipline kind of takes over. And, you know, I think that we've been good with that so far. We've been a disciplined team that has continued to show up, you know, week in and week out, regardless of the outcome, and just, you know, focus on that week, focus on the week and the preparation at hand. And, you know, I think it's turning the leaf over for us. We're starting to see it. You know, some of the guys are like, we're really starting to believe, starting to have a lot better practices. You know, you see a lot more guys out in the field after practice, you know, before practice, things like that. And I think it lights a fire under everybody because winning is fun. You know, like obviously we love football, but man, winning is fun. There's nothing like winning.
Yeah, isn't it right? And that's why at the end of a game, you guys are so exuberant when you win or so downtrodden when you lose, because you put so much effort into it. And talk about that, because in the CFL, you can only be at the facility 4.5 hours mandated time. It takes a certain type of individual to stay disciplined and everything like that. So how do you like our league? How do you know, what do you think of our league? That whole, there's a lot on your plate in terms of self-discipline to continue to be a tight and buttoned up athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I came from arena where, you know, we had less hours than this. So this was kind of nothing to me, you know, like we practiced less, we had less meetings, we had less days of actual practice. So it was like, I mean, every day I'm having to put you know, what our coach said, the lonely work. You know, we're huge on like the lonely work, doing the work, you know, that nobody sees, that nobody's not at practice watching, filming, you know, things of that nature. So, I mean, if you're a high driven person, if you have a high drive, you're going to do it. It's a no brainer. You know what I mean? There's no hesitancy like in waking up early and, you know, staying late and working out extra and watching extra film. Like you're going to do it because, you know, that's just your character and that's who you are, you know, and I take pride in that being my character and who I am. So.
Yeah. Hey, lastly, so I was on X and I said, hey, you know, who's the most underrated, I think, player in the CFL? And I threw out Javon Catoy, big 86 of the BC Lions. Yeah. AJ Allen's coming to his own as a linebacker with the Riders. But then I've been watching more Elks games, and I'm like, I think it's Justin Rankin. How do you, like, when I say that, do you take that as a compliment, or is that kind of been your mentality the whole time? You know what? I'm an underdog. I'm a 5'10", 210 pound running back / receiver, and I'm a little bit over here, a little bit over there. Like, what's your mentality when I say that?
I mean, I'm a confident guy just because I put the work in, you know, like I truly believe that I work a lot harder than a lot of people, and that allows me to play confident and be confident in my ability. So I don't ever see myself as an underdog. You know, I think I can compete with the best of them. But at the end of the day, like I really don't worry about that. Like I just want to win. You know, like I said, winning is fun. So, you know, whatever I can do, like I said, if it's me getting 0 carries or, you know, me getting 100, like as long as we're winning, like I'm fine. You know, I don't care if I'm the underdog, if I'm the worst player or the best player in the league. You know, if we're winning, shoot, we're winners. We're all winners. You know what I mean? We're all winners by association, by putting the work in together, putting the time in together, by winning together. So, I mean, you could be the best player in the league, but if your team is losing, like, you're a loser, you know, and nobody wants to be a loser. So
That's a good point. And lastly, I'll squeeze one more in here. You talk about winning. You talk about happiness. You can't rest on your laurels, but we don't critique wins, that much either. A win's a win. It looks nice. But I do think you guys probably would like to do a couple of different, better things on offense this week against the Argos. So what would you like to do better offensively to help out the defense to pull off maybe even a more substantial win against the Argos this week?
Yeah. I think one of our biggest things that we're focused on is just sustaining drives. Being efficient on first down. Not getting behind the chains, because it's hard to be in second and long and convert, especially in the CFL with 3 downs. That's tough. So I think the biggest thing is just being efficient on first downs, whether it's running the ball, passing the ball. Like that's our biggest focus, is just on first down, like get yards. First down, we need to get yards. We need to get to second and medium. After that, we can get another first down. So that's the biggest thing, just making sure that we can sustain drives, keep the defense off the field, let them catch their breath, and, flip the field, whether it's with points or not, like just flip the field.
Yeah, and that's a pretty valuable currency, downs, right? As an American, how do you like that? Yeah. 2 downs to make a first down, basically. You got 2 downs to make a first down. How do you like that?
Honestly, I don't like it at all. It's as a running back, it's tough, in the States, you can run the ball a little more because you do have 4 downs. You have 3 downs to kind of get that first down, where, here, if first and 10 and you get 2 yards running the ball, it's kind of over with. It's tough. This is a passing league, which is understandable, it should be as a 3 down league, it's a passing league. But personally, like I said, at the position that I play, it's not the greatest, but it is what it is. That's what we're playing with, and that's just a rule that we deal with, and that we got to be better at, is being efficient on that first down.
I don't know who your agent is, but if I was your agent, you keep doing this, I think you would like 2 downs, because you're one of the backs that can be a receiver, and that's a valuable weapon, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like I said, the guys like Cody, coaches, I think they're starting to trust it a little bit more, and put faith in me, and I appreciate them for that. But yeah, you're right. I can do a little bit of both, and like I said, I take pride in that versatility, because I want to do everything that I can to be able to help the team. I want to exert all my energy throughout the game. So.
Well, this podcast is a labor of love for me. I do it because I like the league and I like promoting stars, and you're an emerging star. So thanks for taking your time. Good luck against the Argos. Best of health and best of luck, okay?
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Riley Pickett joining me here. So I apologize, buddy. Somewhere along the line, I missed the fact that you were no longer a long snapper. I think it's because you and Haggerty, who are teammates now again, which is cool. You guys weren't you guys together holding a special teams camp in the off season, you were doing something like that? Was I right about that?
Yeah. So me and my buddy Hags, we started a company called Next Level Football. Mm-hmm. And it was geared toward, one-on-one personal coaching sessions, as well as we held 2 camps, one in Saskatoon and one in Vancouver. And it was predominantly special teams and offensive line skill development, because, as Canadian players, to, make professional football, it's to grind out those special teams and, play in the trenches.
Yeah, believe me, I know. But your versatility is showing through. So you're the backup long snapper. How did that come to be? I know it was I guess you told me before we started rolling tape here, it was last training camp where they told, not this past one, but the one before, where they told you, hey, we're not going to have you long snap. How did that conversation go?
Yeah, so pretty much what happened was they brought in NFL veteran Kyle Nelson. He was a long snapper for 6 years down south. Mm-hmm. And me and him kind of competed for the first couple of weeks of camp, went to Calgary, played a preseason game. I had 3 tackles as a long snapper in the first half of that game. So after, like, literally the next day, they're like, "Hey, we're going to use you for, core 4 special teams because you're just too much of an asset just to be snapping for us. And we want you to learn fullback as well from, one of the greats, David Mackey, who retired this last year. So obviously I took the reins from him. And it's all worked out super well.
So, of course, say you were on the defensive side of the ball. How do you, have you always been on the defensive side of the ball? Is this your first foray into offense? I'm talking in football in general, even from being a young guy.
Football in general, this is I guess last year I had 3 starts when Mackey went down. But this year, this is my first year ever actually playing offense, kind of understanding everything that goes with it. But with that being said, I just love being in the trenches. It doesn't matter what side of the ball it's on. And, I'm just the kind of guy that brings my hard hat and my lunch pail to work every day. So it's good.
So how much being a defender coming up through the ranks, not in the CFL, but obviously a long snapper, but how much being a defender helped you be an offensive player?
It actually helped so much because I was a defensive end my whole, Hilltops and Huskies career and high school as well. But just knowing how a defensive lineman is going to try to play me, and I'm, lead blocking him, trying to hack him out, doing all these types of things, right? So I really know what his mindset is and what he sees in front of him. So it sets me up for success knowing, okay, I'm playing a little bit of chess now where I might fake here, go here, do these kind of things because I have that background, right?
So be honest with me. You always are, but I'm just, athletes are macho. No, it doesn't faze me. Okay, so you're out in the flats, and I know it's like a 5-yard pass or a 6-yard pass. But you got Nathan Rourke, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, throwing you a pass, and you now have to be an athlete to catch the ball. Okay, it looks simple, but it's not. In your mind, are you like, don't screw this up, or is it just second nature to you?
Honestly, I hold the Saskatoon flag football record for touchdown passes in a playoff run.
Oh, so, cool.
Yeah, I've definitely had some work on the hands. And with the Huskies and the Hilltops and the passes, a joke, I would always go out early. And I wouldn't snap, but I would catch punts. So I've been working on the ball skills for a long time. So at this point, it's just get the ball, secure it, get vertical, just kind of do whatever the team needs me to do. I love blocking too. Run blocking is probably one of my favorite things, obviously other than special teams. And then if I get a target or 2 every couple of games, that's just the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, icing on the cake. You got into the end zone against the Tiger Cats. Talk about that and being a part of a big win in Hamilton.
Yeah, so first ever carry, actually taking a handoff in a game, pretty cool. And, to get in the end zone for a 2-point conversion, and we ended up winning the game in overtime. That's one I'm going to remember forever. After the game, a bunch of young fans were like, "Can I have your gloves? Can I have your gloves?" And I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep these ones myself because that's my first ever carry, and I just want to remember it.
It's funny, my son, after they played Toronto in Winnipeg, the kids were coming up asking for his towel and his gloves, and he's like, in his mind, he's like, he felt bad, but he said no, because in his mind, he's like, I'm a new guy, and I'm unestablished, I may never get another pair of gloves. So he's like, no, CFL cash flow low. Hey, talk about this, because admittedly, I'm ashamed to say this, I've always been a proponent of special teams, okay? I love the fact you got to do something with the football in every play in our Canadian game at all levels. I love that. Mm-hmm. And I've called games, so obviously I've called punt returns and stuff. But I've never really paid attention to I call you guys ditch diggers, okay? Nobody wants to dig a ditch, but you got to dig a ditch. Nobody wants to pick the roadkill up off the highway, but you got to do that, right? There's got to be a job for that. It's not glamorous. Now, obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm paying attention to it more. How much pride do you take in that? Being a lead blocker for a Butler or putting your body on the line, making a tackle, or trying to spring a kick returner?
Honestly, so much, especially just being that hardworking Saskatchewan kid that, late round pick, transition from a D lineman to a snapper to now a fullback. I've always just been a team first kind of guy, and I love just working hard and doing my job for everybody. So I honestly play for my boys beside me and behind me. I want to go into that film room and be able to look at them all and say, I gave you everything I got. Mm-hmm. And that's just all. I'm just going to let it all hang out there.
Did you always want to be a CFL player? Was that something you wanted to do? A lot of kids growing up when they were young, they want to be an NFL guy. My kid loved the CFL. He came by it honestly because I got him tickets to every game. So he actually always wanted to run out of the tunnel and be a Weston Dressler type of guy. What about Riley Pickett?
You know, I always loved the Green Bay Packers. Clay Matthews was like my, I was a fanboy for Clay Matthews back in the day. But, you know, the CFL is my NFL, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool. And I thought that, it became a reality for me after my third year with the Hilltops when I came back from Team Canada. We won a world championship there. I started every game, made a lot of plays, had some good confidence. I finally grew into my body. And then I had a huge breakout all-Canadian season with, including playoffs, 15 sacks. And then I was like, you know what, I think I might actually be able to do this. So then obviously I went to the Huskies with, Coach Scott Flory, who's an awesome coach. He has a lot of connections. And we turned that program around, from 2-6 to a Hardy Cup win, to a UTEC Bowl win, to a Vanier Cup appearance. And, I still think that we would have won that game if Laval would have treated the field properly the day before. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It's all good because it got me to where I am today. And I'm just super thankful for all the experiences.
That Husky thing still ticks me off. Like, I'm a Ram guy because I grew up, I played for the Rams and I broadcast Ram games. But I like the Huskies too, a friend of the Niases. I'll tell you what, 3 years in a row, the Huskies got ripped off of the Vanier Cup too, or of the Crichton, pardon me. You had Mackert should have won it. Then 1 year, no disrespect to Chris Merchant, but the excuse was it was a career award.
Yep.
Okay, and then the next year it was Ford,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Ford, but the year before, Mason didn't even make it out of Can West because they said it was a Ford brother, it was a Philpott brother award, and the remember that? And no disrespect to the Philpotts because they're great players, but that still sticks in my craw a little bit there that the Huskies should have won at least one Heck Crichton.
Absolutely, I agree. And like Mackert and Mason are those are two of my best friends. Like we still talk every day. We're in Dynasty Fantasy Leagues together. Like we're gonna be lifelong buddies. So it definitely rubs me the wrong way as well that they didn't get the recognition that they deserve. But me and everybody in the province, Saskatchewan just loves football more than any other province, I think. And those two are household names that, real people are going to remember.
No, I'm not asking you to cut down any other players in the league. So this isn't a loaded question. I just want you to kind of answer it this way. You're playing with a Canadian face in Nathan Rourke, who I like. I consider a friend. He's been on the show a number of times, okay? But I just mentioned Nias. I shake my head at some of the guys that get to play quarterback in this league and get chance after chance after chance. But Mason Nias doesn't get a chance, a legitimate chance, or Adam Sinagra, or the list goes on and on and on. It makes me shake my head. As a guy in the league, does it kind of boggle your mind too?
It doesn't because all those guys do get chances at camps, right? Yeah. It's just like it's never fair. The world isn't fair. So it doesn't matter. Like everyone knows that there's guys on rosters that have no place being on that roster. And there's guys sitting at home that definitely should be there. Yeah. So it's one of those things, where it's I don't want to think too much about it because every day we're still fighting for our own jobs, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter, if you're that established 10-year vet or if you're a brand new guy, you got to show up every day and work and show that you're getting better or else you could be on the other side of it.
Yeah, and so I've been arguing with people online. You know me, Riley. I've been a Canadian football defender for a very long time. Not just because I have a kid in the game now. People say, "Oh, you're because your kid's playing." That has nothing to do with it. I've always been a Riley Pickett, Mason Nias, Adam Mackert, Noah Picton, whatever. Why is the Canadian ratio important? It gives you a chance at a job, and it gives my kid a chance at a job, and it gives a lot of people a chance at a job to run down on special teams and then cut their teeth and maybe play defense, or in your case, fullback. But why is the ratio, as a Canadian guy, why is it important? I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Because it's going to put people in the seats, right? You're not just going to want to go and watch a bunch of just random recycled players that no one knows. You want to be able to, get a jersey, know that this guy's going to be here for 5 to 10 years. I used to watch this guy playing for the Huskies. Now he's playing for the Riders. How cool is that? So I definitely think it's going to, help fill seats, do all those kind of things, because if you look back even 15, 20 years ago, the CFL was booming. It was huge. And I'm not quite sure what really happened with the attendance fall off kind of thing, but I think that just having, more local, good talent out there is definitely going to help fill seats, sell tickets, merchandise, all that kind of stuff.
Well, here's what I say, and I've argued this, and I've been vocal about this. You go to Japan, professional baseball in Japan, they're only allowed a handful of imports on each team, and kids grow up, they want to play pro Japanese baseball. Look at all the great Japanese baseball players that come over here. Otani, it starts in their league. It's domestic. Their stadiums are full. French professional rugby, they have to have, I think they get 15 imports on a 31 roster, and their stadiums are full. Aussie rules football, same type of thing. 3 imports on a team, the rest are Aussie players, and they get 30 to 40,000. So when people say, what's holding it back are the Canadian football players, I say that's bullshit. I think, in some cases, Canadian football players need time to mature, but I think we're starting to see this is the greatest era of Canadian receivers, for gosh sakes.
Absolutely it is. Yeah, it's spread out all along the league, on every different team. Like, there's just great Canadian players, and lots of them played U sports. It's not just guys that played NCAA down south, right? A lot of U sport guys are shining in the CFL, and it's showing that, like, hey, our league is pretty good too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and before I let you go, you guys kind of were stubbing your toe in the first little bit, but I feel like back-to-back games, now you're putting it together, and you get Montreal here at home. I feel like the BC Lions, one of my favorite stadiums, by the way, but I don't feel like you guys have taken command of your home turf. You know what I mean? Do you feel that way? And what do you got to do to put a stamp on it? Like, when you come into BC Place, this is not going to be an easy game.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. That's one of the main things, too, that we were kind of talking about in the breakdowns this week is, like, we need to be better at home. We should be having a home field advantage, like with the time difference, the kind of different soccer turf that we have in there, the humidity, all those kinds of things, right? So I think that we just need to show up for work and just don't think it's going to happen for us and go out there and just do it.
Okay, one last thing for you. In CFL football, you have 4.5 hours at the facility. That's what you're mandated for, okay? In Regina, there's not a lot maybe to do. Winnipeg, there's a little more to do, but certainly not in Vancouver. How does Riley Pickett keep his head screwed on straight to, because that can be a challenge for a lot of players. Their careers could be so much better, but it goes by the wayside because they get distracted. How do you keep it screwed on straight?
Definitely for a lot of players, I agree. That could be a bit of a, bump in the road. But for me personally, like, I'm such a routine, structured person, just how I am in general, how I made it to the league and how I've stayed in the league and, like, kept on progressing, getting better and getting better and getting better. So, like, I show up every morning, do all my prehab, take care of everything I need to do, go meet with the special teams coach, kind of chop it up a little bit, talk about the game plan. And then we have our early meetings with the offense, and then obviously the whole practice, get some treatment after practice, do my lift, go watch more film with the O-line, go in the ice tub, hot tub, a little contrast, and then it's 4:30. Like, okay, now it's probably time to go home, eat, go for a little walk down by the water, come back, call the parents, do my whole, like, rolling out, stretching, Epsom salt bath saga. Like, you can ask anyone on the team. My routine is crazy. And then by then it's bedtime. So get a nice 8.5 hours and get ready to go kick tomorrow's ass.
I love it, man. That is really inspiring. I hope young football players and athletes watching this are definitely inspired by that, because as a 52-year-old man, I'm ready to go, man. That is it. Hey, last one for you. You're a fullback. There aren't too many fullback. Like, it's a small, like, it's not like a receiver group or a DB group. So are you like an old Chris Zarka? Are you a lineman? Like, are you an honorary offensive lineman?
I'm definitely an honorary offensive lineman. I spend all my time with those guys. I love them all. The coaching staff's awesome as well. Like, our O-line coach, our running back coach are unbelievable. I love everyone in the room. It doesn't feel like work, right? So we're all super dialed in, and, like, we have a common goal together. But it's a lot easier, to spend 8 hours a day with people that you love. So it's been great.
Linemen don't get fined for doing interviews, do they? I hope I'm not taking out of your money here for doing this. On some teams, the linemen get fined for doing interviews, like they do. I knew the Riders used to do that back in the day.
Yeah. I might be eating a social media fine, but you know what, Ballsy, you're worth the $5.
Yeah, that's the first. That's the most I've ever been worth. No kidding. Hey, Riley,
Yeah,
it's
there
great.
we go.
It's great to watch you play, man. I never thought I'd get excited to watch a fullback out in the flats, but there I am. It's either Mike Alstott or Riley Pickett. I love it, man. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Of course. Thank you.